Hey guys, I am John with the Parking Lot Rebels, and today I'm talking to you about Jimmy Dore's online rampage for his Medicare for All vote. Now, before we get started, I would like to give a shout out to our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by the internal combustion engine. Kicking ass and burning fossil fuels for 100 years. The internal combustion engine has been getting you around. Anyways, for those of you paying attention to the online world, the Twitters and the YouTubes, there is a left-wing pundit named Jimmy Dore who is advocating for this new idea of getting Nancy Pelosi to vote on the idea of Medicare for all during the coronavirus crisis. Now, for those of you who don't know, Jimmy Dore is a pretty progressive left-wing political pundit / comedian. He has enough of an online presence that he's been on Joe Rogan a few times, which should impress the most of us down here in the basement. So about 2 to 3 weeks ago, Jimmy Dore went on his show, and in light of the Biden win in the presidential election and numerous seats being changed in the House and the Senate, Jimmy Dore presents an idea that was an actual call to action in the political sphere. And so what he proposed was that progressive House members in Washington, people like the AOCs, people like the Rashida Tlaibs, the Progressive Caucus, they are now voting on who's going to be the next Speaker of the House, which is currently Nancy Pelosi. She's most likely to win it again. But what Dore is advocating for is that these progressive House members withhold their vote for her until she promises to put forth a vote for Medicare for all. Now, Jimmy Dore's been getting a fair amount of support for this idea. A lot of people online are backing him up. People like Glenn Greenwald have been all over it. And I think it's refreshing just to see somebody actually proposing action instead of just complaining. So props to him for that. And to say he's just advocating for it would be a bit of an understatement. He has been absolutely lighting up the internet. On Twitter, getting into fights with everyone. Online, just loaded for bear. In fact, we have a clip right now of him recently.
For things, but I think, and they're getting things. They're getting some representation on committees. It's insider.
Fuck off. Fuck you. Fuck off. Go fuck yourself with your fucking committee, fuckface. You fucking egghead nerd. I don't give a fuck about your committee shit. Nobody voted for her for a fucking committee. Why don't you stop saying that stupid shit?
No.
That's directed at Matt, not at Jayapal.
Fuck.
So I think it's important to note, actually, that Matt is a friend of his, and he meant this in a joking manner, but the tone is pretty correct for how Jimmy's been treating this all along. Now, this isn't to say he's not without his detractors. There's been people on the right and the left who are not on board with this idea. In terms of the conservative wing, I think the reasons are obvious. Majority of conservatives or Republicans in the United States are still not supporting Medicare for all. I believe it's 54% are against the idea so far in kind of more modern polls. But even amongst his own far left wing, amongst the true progressives, in the online atmosphere, he's getting a lot of pushback. If you know who Sam Cedar is, he hosts the Minority Report on his own channel. He's never really been a fan of Jimmy Dore. I believe they have a contentious relationship, but here's a clip of him not on board and kind of lighting Jimmy up.
To get real change. This is about him trying to prove, and it's an easy thing to do, at least in terms of what his requirements for proof are, him trying to prove that they're all frauds and that really the only true person out there is him.
So you may be wondering, on what grounds are left-wing progressives fighting back against Jimmy Dore? Why do they think this is a bad idea? And there's a few reasons on the table that I'm not sure actually hold up. But the first one is that there are other things to be pushing for. And I believe AOC kind of fought back with him on Twitter about this, is that she would much rather be fighting for a $15 minimum wage at the federal level instead of pushing for Medicare for all right now. And that was one of her reasons / excuses for not wanting to pick a fight against Nancy Pelosi. Another reason that's been brought forth against Dore is that this is also an opportunity to fight for other things like seats on different committees and things like that. I'm not sure how much that holds up. It sounds like that's been mostly backdoor conversations that aren't really verified, and you have to be wary of things like that. And the third reason, which is probably a little more widely spread, I know the Young Turks are pushing this one, but there is a thought that if you put Medicare for All on the floor for a vote and it fails, it hurts the cause, because people don't really want to vote for a losing cause. People don't want to be on the losing teams, because that is just human nature. We all know that. Now, if you're listening to this, if you've listened this far, you've probably surmised that I'm more on Jimmy's side than I'm against it. I don't really think the criticisms hold up. For example, the $15 minimum wage, that's not really worth picking a fight with Pelosi, because Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi both already agree with a $15 minimum wage at the federal level. They want that enforced. So for you to make that your platform you're going to fight for is obviously redundant. There's no point in AOC holding back her vote to fight for something that's already going to be pushed by that side. Whether or not it actually wins is to be seen. AOC trying to fight for seats on different committees is pretty ironic. I believe she just lost one of her seats on the committee. I'm not quite sure why, but those backdoor deals, you can't really trust those. I think that's just common sense. It's akin to growing up and being told that Santa Claus brings you your gifts as long as you're good. So if I'm good, if I do my dishes and do my chores, at the end of the year, because I'm so good, Santa Claus is going to bring me something. And then, you turn 11, 12 years old and you find out that backdoor deal between Santa Claus and your parents is all nonsense. And the third reason, the idea of Medicare for All failing and then being seen as unpopular, I'm not sure that logic holds up. I think if you are an advocate of Medicare for All, I think pushing the conversation forward is the best thing you can do. I mean, 5-6 years ago, Medicare for All wasn't really a household conversation topic, but thanks to guys like Bernie Sanders who got in the national spotlight and pushed for it, we're talking about it now. It is being seen as an actual alternative to the U.S. medical system. So the idea of it failing and being swept aside, I don't know that holds up at all. So as this conflict heats up and Jimmy Dore makes more people on the internet mad, I got to say, I'm all for it. I am all about it. I love that he's being proactive. I love that he is being aggressive and kicking ass. I've been a Jimmy Dore fan for years. I think he's very intellectually honest. His detractors will say that he's taken sponsorship money from different people. That purity test, everyone fails that purity test in the end. If you're taking money, you're going to be looked down upon in left-wing circles. It's kind of that circular fire squad that even Obama was talking about. Of course, I do have broader thoughts on Medicare for All in the U.S. system. I'm not entirely sold that it's the best idea. Me being pretty familiar with the Canadian universal healthcare system, it's not all great. There's a lot of imperfections. There's shortages on doctors. There is excessive wait times at clinics. It does do a good job of, in terms of emergency medicine, you will get the care you need and not go bankrupt doing it. But in terms of your day-to-day healthcare, universal healthcare has a lot of weaknesses. So it's not like this proposition isn't without its weaknesses. But to get into this will probably be a video for a different day, and hopefully we'll see you there. So that's it. I am John. We are the Parking Lot Rebels. If you've listened this far and you like what you are listening to, please feel free to like or subscribe to the channel. That'll help out, obviously. And if you keep your likes to yourself, I'm going to accuse you of being a communist. So don't be a communist. See you next time.